Hey everybody, Chuck Barone. Tuesday, December the 27th, 2022. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the last week of 2022 as we wind down a crazy year. Guys, I gotta say, I've been watching these markets for a long time. I'm like a dinosaur. This year has just been one of the wackiest, craziest years. I've never seen things happen so abruptly and continued, and then once the change came, continue to be as weird as they've been for the rest of the year, continuing to this very day. Crazy times. As always, we want to welcome you to the show. Thank you guys for your support. What you guys do every day means the world to us. We really appreciate you guys. In the markets today, well, not a lot going on really. This week's going to kind of be a dull one, I think. There's not going to be this big rally that we sometimes get toward the end of the year. I think that this year the tax stuff that's going on, the stuff buying and selling for tax purposes, a lot of people taking some lumps right now, willing to take their losses, cut their losses, take the tax losses. So the stock market today mixed. The Dow was up very small, with the S&P down small, and the NASDAQ taking a pretty good tumble, down about 1.3%. I think, the flight to more safe stocks is happening, so the NASDAQ gets beat up a little more. The Dow stocks go up a little bit because they're usually the big names, right? This week is going to be a pretty boring one, barring some unforeseen news we're not thinking about, geopolitical news, or some Fed blowhard coming out and saying the wrong thing. I think this is pretty much going to be a pretty uneventful week for the markets. The bond market today down, yields up today pretty significantly. The 10-year up 11 basis points, sitting at 3.86%. That's a pretty strong move. Actually prices to the downside, yields up, right? The 2-year rising 7 basis points, sitting at 4.39%. So you still got that 75 basis point at least yield curve inversion. It's just the bond market doesn't look super healthy right now. I think that if you're a fixed asset buyer, it's starting to look pretty good though. I mean, a 2-year deal at getting 4.4%, not terrible compared, especially with what we've been seeing. The dollar today pretty much unmoved, down small, sitting at 104.19 on the index. Basically not much happening with the dollar in these markets today, very quiet. Metals had a decent day though. Gold charging up the hill, $15, $1,814, back over $1,800. I like to see that. Silver up 31 cents. Back up over $24, settling at $24.14. I'm telling you guys, I think metals are looking for a reason to rally. I've been saying it for the past month or so. The market's made a nice move, and I think you're going to see it continue to go. And if this dollar comes down, you could see metals really take off. The oil market today, oil up small. A barrel of West Texas Intermediate sitting at $79.74 per barrel. Nothing earth-shattering. Natural gas, $5.19, and a pretty quiet day for natural gas. That market's been really volatile. As I've been warning you guys, if you're near this stuff, be very cautious. There's so much that could affect these prices on a day-to-day basis. Be very cautious if you're in oil and gas. Bitcoin, down small today, down $182, sitting at $16,670. This is another one where you got red flags coming up all over the place. Be very cautious in cryptos and Bitcoin. News today, there's just not much to really report as far as news goes. One thing I saw that was interesting though was Christmas retail spending this year was up 7.6% from last year. So it looks like our friends in the retail business are going to have a Merry Christmas after all, and I was glad to see that. I think, we want our economy to be strong. I hope so, at least. It's funny, though, because it seems like whenever I say anything's going to be good or better, I lose subscribers and people get mad at me. Guys, I don't skew the opinion I give. I don't talk about the markets day to day, trying to tell you guys what you want to hear or are hoping to hear. I tell it to you the way I see it, so you can prepare accordingly, make adjustments if you need to, just be informed. So anyway, if the fact that the economy is doing okay makes some people mad, I'm sorry. Anyway, retail spending up for Christmas, good for retailers. Everybody probably had a little bit merrier Christmas. I'm sure a lot of that was, when it's up 7.6% and you got the CPI at 7.1%, well, who knows how much extra stuff they really got. Was it really buying more? Was it buying the same and just paying more for it? Who knows? Anyway, to wrap things up today, just want to go over some stuff like look at where this year, what happened this year, where things are now, and where things are likely to go coming up in 2023. What a wacky year we had. The year started, everything was go, go, go. Even though we had some warnings on inflation, the Fed and the Treasury Secretary and all the big shots were talking about it being nothing to think about. Turned that from that to transitory, turned to that to we're going to raise rates up to the roof and make everybody faint. And real estate went from people listing a house and getting 15 offers over the weekend to where we are today. Just another world completely, like the difference between Venus and Mars. And where are we today? It's just, there's nothing happening. Stock market, same kind of thing. Start of the year optimistic, horrible year for the stock market. Bond market in a bear market. Oil markets were all over the place with geopolitical stuff. The market it was very difficult year to have a great year. People that listened to our advice hunkered down, moved into dividend-paying stocks, utilities, preferreds, consumer non-durables, healthcare, defense stocks. Hung in there. I'm sure this year your portfolio is looking a lot better than it would have if you'd have stayed in your tech stocks and all the go-go stuff. But I think that in 2023, I think stocks probably going to have a decent year. There's some variables, obviously, we have to look at and worry about. But as long as earnings stay strong, I think stocks are going to keep rocking and rolling. And, we had a pretty bad year this year. Some of the really big names, I just saw a blurb that Tesla's down 69% from its peak. It's crazy. So I think that if you're buying now, you're probably buying at a pretty good time depending on what you're buying. I think that it's all going to depend on the Federal Reserve, obviously. I would be watching unemployment numbers. The unemployment numbers are going to give you the foreshadowing, a little bit of a tip-off of where the Fed is at. I think that's the last domino to fall in their inflation fight. It's going to be the toughest one. So we watch unemployment. That'll tip us off to the Fed, and we'll be able to make our adjustments accordingly in our portfolios. But I think the stock market in 2023 has a decent year. At least a year of gains. Bond market, I think, likely will continue to decline as the Fed continues to raise rates. I think that I could see the Fed maybe pausing, but I really don't see rate cuts coming in 2023. I just don't think they're going to knock inflation down. If they can actually get it down to 2% in 23, we'll see. That remains to be seen. But if they can get it down to 2%, do you see them saying, okay, job well done, we're going to immediately pivot and start cutting rates and, bringing the fight right back? I don't see that, so I think rates will stay elevated in 23. I think if you're a fixed income person, you're going to be a happy guy. I think the dollar, I think it's going to be pretty much have a decent year next year. I think it's going to be bumpy, depending again on the Federal Reserve. If people believe the Fed is going to continue to raise rates and hold them higher, the dollar will continue to be strong. Once they start to pivot and people feel that the dollar or the rates are going to start coming down, cheapening the dollar, of course, the dollar will come down. So we're going to be all over that for you guys as well. Gold and silver, I think, are going to have good years next year. They had a good year this year. I think that when the dollar starts to come back down to earth, which it inevitably will, metals are ready to rally. They're looking for a reason to take off. I think they're going to find it in 2023. So if you're a metals person, I know a lot of you guys listening to this are, I think 2023 is going to be a very, very happy year for you guys in gold and silver. I think oil and gas is something that you need to be very, very cautious about being involved in. I think that it's very volatile. There's so many factors other than just typical supply and demand stuff, with recessions being threatened in Europe. And when you add in the geopolitical stuff, Russia, one of the world's biggest producers, you know, the war and everything that goes along with it, you're gambling here basically that you can guess what's going to happen, and guessing is not what we want to do when we're investing. And same with cryptos. Whether you believe in cryptos long term or not, this is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the FTX collapse, stuff that's going to come out around that. There'll be revelations like crazy about how much money got stolen. That's already starting to come out. I think before it's over, you're going to have the government involved in some big regulations starting to get threatened, attacked on. It's going to be a very, very volatile year for crypto. So just, you know, if you're in them, be very cautious. I would say be cautious if you're thinking about investing more in them. Try to get the lay of the land, guys. You know, this is not a casino here. This is investing, not gambling. We want to be playing more what we know is going to go up, whether it's smaller gains where you hit it right once in a while and you get a giant gain. Well, that's great to talk about and have in your portfolio. But when you have 10 losses before you have that big gain, it's not quite the same picture as a whole bunch of stuff growing slower, but growing consistently over time. Anyway, guys, that's it for the day. I appreciate your support. As always, hit the like button. Double check your subscriptions and your notifications. As always, we appreciate you guys. Ask your questions. Make your comments in the comment section. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if there's any more news. It's going to be a quiet week. But until we talk tomorrow, guys, take care. Thanks.